Okay, hello, welcome to lab number 5, analyzing types of attacks and mitigation techniques. Okay, so for the introduction in this lab, we will be conducting host security practices using the command line along with scripts. And for the objective of this lab, we will be performing the following tasks: compare and contrast types of attacks, perform brute forcing SSH attacks, and performing dangerous Linux commands. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we are brute forcing SSH and we're going to demonstrate ncrack against SSH guard. So the first thing we need to do is go ahead and just log in under the sysadmin ndg lab pass. So the first thing we need to do is make sure that the services are up and running, and we're going to be checking SSH and the SSH guard, and we're going to be turning off SSH guard. So let's go ahead and check for SSH status, and we can see right here that it is actively running. I'm going to go ahead and press Q just to exit out of this. And now we're going to be checking for SSH guard. And that's running as well. And we're going to want to turn that off just because SSH guard is a log management tool. Okay, yeah, it's a log management tool and it monitors services such as SSH, mail services, and it detects networks that are abusing or failing login attempts, and then it bans that IP address. So for this exercise, we need to make sure that SSH guard is off. Okay, so we successfully turned it off, but we're just going to double check and make sure that it is off. Okay, and it is off. Okay, I did not explain what SSHD is, but so SSH basically allows network administrators to remotely manage systems and applications via unsecured networks. And it is important to remember it does run on port 22. Okay, so once we get that going, we turned off SSH guard. We're going to go ahead and make our way into Kali. And Kali is basically our threat actor. It is outside the network, and we are going to be trying to get the login credentials. We're going to go ahead and open up a terminal and just check for SSH connection and make sure that we are able to connect. Okay, that is up. So for this exercise, it just tells us to just kind of check this right here and then make our way back into the Ubuntu. But I like to just log in just so we can see two examples when we try to look for, or when we try to grep the logs. And it's just a little bit better, in my opinion. Just have a little bit more information. Okay, we're going to go ahead and exit. And then we're going to go and make our way back. And we're going to be trying to grep the log entry record from the SSH connection that we just initiated. The first one was the test, and then the second one was the test connection, and it's going to show us right here what we're looking for. And then this is the path. And we're going to be looking in the authentication logs. And we're going to be looking for this specific IP address. As you can see, there is two. And I like it just a little bit better just because it kind of gives you a little bit more an example. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to be attempting to, or we're going to be using NCrack, and NCrack is a high-speed network authentication cracking tool, and it's used to audit multiple large-scale hosts. And security professionals use this just to, just for its speed and, just it's a great tool. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and see some of the available options, which is we're going to be using the increased verbosity and a few other things. Okay, so let's get cracking. So the user is going to be sysadmin. And then the path, or the password file we're going to be using is the /usr share word lists /fasttrack.txt. And then the protocol is going to be, or the service list is SSH. Okay, so we're attempting to crack SSH and get the login credentials. And it just takes like a minute or two. Just give it a minute. It should pop. Okay, there you go. And you can see that the credentials for the user sysadmin is ndg labpass123. Okay. And so we're going to go ahead and move on to the next exercise, which is observing the action of SSH guard. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and make our way back to the Ubuntu machine. And we are going to change the configuration or the files. We're going to go ahead and change the configuration for it. Totally forgot the nano. And nano basically allows us to edit and create files in the text editor. So sudo nano. Okay, so we're going to be changing two options right here, which is the block time. And we're going to do that for 60 seconds. And the detection time. So after 60 seconds, this is going to reset and it's going to allow us to attempt to log in. And that's what the detection time does. Excuse me. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and just save it. So Control S and then Control X. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is check the IP tables. And the IP tables is a firewall program for Linux that allows us to monitor traffic and check against specific rules. Basically an IP packet filter. And we're looking for a specific option right here, but it is not coming forward. And the reason for that is because SSH guard was turned off earlier. So now we're going to go ahead and turn that service back on, and that should allow us to configure the files. Okay, let's just check that it's on SSH. And it's on. Go ahead and press Q. And we're going to bring up the sudo IP tables again. Where's the IP tables? And it's right here. And this is what we're looking for. And now we're going to configure SSH card to auto block attacks. And for that, we're going to type in the following command. Amend input, so that means that the traffic coming in. P, which is the protocol, which is TCP. And M, I was trying to look for what M specifically meant, but I was not able to find the information in any of the manuals. And then destination port is going to be 22, and then the service is going to be SSH card. We're going to go ahead and start that. And now we're going to go ahead and change focus back into the Kali machine, and we're going to go ahead and run the ncrack service again, or the ncrack command again. Just go ahead and see what happens. And we're going to switch back and observe the change in firewall rules. As you can see, there's a new rule in place, and that is meant to block the Kali machine. That's the IP address. Okay. And this only lasts with 60 seconds with the configurations that we did earlier. So after those 60 seconds are up, we should be able to attempt to log in again. Or this rule is dropped, and then that'll give us permission to log in again. So we're just going to wait those 60 seconds. And then we're going to go back in here and just try and log in. We're going to wait a bit and then attempt this. Okay, let's go ahead and start it. I believe the 60 seconds are up, and we should be able to connect. And success. Go ahead and exit. And now we're going to be looking at the authentication logs for any failed password attempts, just like how we did prior with the accepted password attempts. And we're going to be using the same grep command. And the same path. Oops. Oh, okay, log. authentication log, and then coming from this IP address. As you can see, these are all the failed attempts earlier. And that's really neat when you're trying to look for specific instances, or you could use grep to look for specific instances, for specific, how should I say this, terms, or like failed password or accepted password at. It's just easier than having to look through all the authentication logs, and this just brings it up easy and simple, which is really cool. So we're going to go ahead and clear this. Okay, and then the next exercise we're going to be doing is demonstrating a DOS attack. And we're going to be using two terminals for this. The first thing we're going to do is go ahead and type htop, and what htop is, it's an interactive system monitoring processing viewer and process manager. And go ahead and start a new window. And we're going to go ahead and use a fork bomb with that. And what a fork bomb is, it continuously forks processes into, it eats up memory. So one instance turns into two, two into four, and so on and so forth. And what this does, it just basically eats up all your memory, and the only option you have is just to turn on and turn off your computer, just to free up those resources. And what this basically is I've never used this language of scripting. And let me just type it out completely. This basically names itself colon, and the ampersand right here doesn't allow the process to stop. So this basically restarts the process, and that's how the forking just keeps on going, and that's how it splits, and it just creates a mess. And there's several different types of fork bombs that you can use. You can find them online. And we're going to go ahead and start it. And in a little bit, you should see spikes in memory. And CPU usage as well. And it's forking itself, and you can see it's kind of unresponsive. The uptime is not changing. Boom. And it's just going to keep on going and going until all the resources have been eaten up completely. Sometimes I have luck with this actually showing on here, but other times it's just the uptime that I know that it's lagging. Yeah, sometimes it shows, and then sometimes it's lagging too much and it's just too unresponsive. Okay, there you go. We see some movement. I'm just showing an example. So it's basically supposed to look like this. So I'm gonna go ahead and restart it because you see the effect that a fork bomb has on your desktop, which you should never do on a personal desktop. Doesn't cause any permanent damage, but I take the risk. We're gonna go ahead and power it on, and okay. So the next thing we're gonna do is destroy the HDD with a DD or destroy drive, and it's just gonna take a while. And we're gonna be using the same Ubuntu machine. Okay, so we're going to be running IOTop to monitor desk IO, which is input and output. And it reports the, okay, so IOTop is a Linux utility that monitors input output usage as reported by the Linux kernel and displays the information by process or thread. I'm going to go ahead and show you what that looks like. Oops. And it's the same thing. We're going to get a new window going. Okay. And then now we're going to destroy the drive. And I was looking up what this specifically does, and it scrambles the data on the drive and including the partitioning table, and there is other examples of this destroy drive, and you could either randomize the data or I believe put a zeros, which is the dev zero, and there's just a lot of different examples of this. And this is another Linux command that you do not want to be using on your personal machine. And we're going to go ahead and start that up. And it's just going to take a while. And we're going to see this spike right here, and we're just going to see a bunch of information coming through. And it's going to take a while. And now the system is going to start crashing because all the data is being overwritten. There's going to be zeros in places that it shouldn't be, scrambling the data. And in the real world setting, we should no longer be able to use this. Okay, let's go ahead and restart this now. Okay, powering off. And we should see the damage right now. And as you can see, it failed because there is no operating system available. And basically, in other words, again, the dd command destroys is successful in such a way that the damage has been done, and the command process kept writing random zeros on the partition SDA to the point where it can no longer function because of the overwritten files. Okay, and that concludes this lab. And we've successfully compared and contrast types of attacks, performed brute forcing SSH attacks, and performed dangerous Linux command. Alrighty. Thank you for listening. And have a good day, Professor.